I would like to call our meeting to order, but before doing that, I'm going to proceed with a roll call vote to confirm attendance. I am Robin Hunter, Chair of the Board of Selectmen.
I'm Dave Haviland, also a member of the Board of Selectmen.
So before we begin tonight, I am going to read a statement by the Board of Selectmen. Following that statement, we will go to citizen comments. If you would like to make a citizen's comment, the procedure has changed slightly since we are conducting this meeting using webinar technology. So please raise your hand on the Zoom panel, and we will let you in the call. You will be into the meeting. You will be participating in the meeting via verbally only. We will not be showing your picture. And prior to us admitting you into the room, we will need you to identify yourself and where you're from. So prior to citizen comments, I will read a statement from the Board of Selectmen this evening. I would like to inform you all that Mr. Jeffries has resigned from the Board of Selectmen effective October 31st, 2024. In light of this decision and an apology from Mr. Jeffries to the members of the Dover Police Department, the town considers the intimidation charges resolved. The town has communicated this to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office and is satisfied with the outcome. At this time, the town is unable to comment further. Any additional inquiries regarding this matter should be directed to the District Attorney's Office. And now I will begin with the first item of business, which is citizens' comments. So do we have any comments? And again, please utilize the Zoom technology and raise your hand. If you're looking for the raise your hand emoji, it's at the bottom of the screen. I think that's the right terminology.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. So I don't see anything. Do you, Chris? Because I'm blind as a bat sometimes.
Nope, I'm not seeing any.
Okay. So we will then move to the first item of business, which is the tax classification hearing. And we will, the town assessor, Amy Gao, will be making a presentation. So I guess we have to let her in.
Amy, you're on mute if you're trying to speak.
Right.
Hi. No, my whole computer screen changed. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So I'm Amy Gao. I am the town assessor for the town of Dover. I'm here with the Board of Assessors, Chair Charlie Long and Member Bob Cox. Each year, the assessors come before the board to ask you to vote on 4 tax rate options. The first option is the residential factor, and that is to maintain a single tax rate with a factor of 1 or a split tax rate with a factor of less than 1. The second is the open space discount. Dover does not have any property classified as open space. The third option is the residential exemption. The residential exemption would shift the tax burden from the properties that are a principal residence to owners of vacant land and rental properties. And the fourth one is the small commercial exemption. This would reduce the taxes of properties occupied by small businesses and shift the tax burden to the larger commercial and industrial taxpayers. The Board of Assessors is recommending a residential factor of 1, a no vote on the open space discount, a no vote on the residential exemption, and a no vote on the small commercial exemption.
And Amy, just to confirm, this has been consistent with what we've done in prior years, and actually every year that I've been on the Board of Selectmen.
Correct. The town of Dover has less than 3% commercial. So it's really,
So I think the only item I will note is residents may be wondering if the Pastures, which is a new apartment building, is classified as commercial, and it is not. It is a residential property. And so we still continue to have no commercial properties. So I have no additional questions. Dave, how about you?
No, you made the point that I wanted to make, that we're staying the course, and this is what we have done traditionally, and there's no good reason to change it. So I'm ready to vote if you are.
I am, and thank you, Amy and the Board of Assessors. So I'm going to move.
Robin, I'm sorry to interrupt. So just for the record, this is a public hearing, so
Okay.
if we could just give the opportunity for anyone in attendance to raise their hand if they wish to speak.
Thank you for keeping me on track. As I mentioned last week, I'm going to be a little rusty. I don't see any raised hands.
No, I don't either. I just wanted to make sure we offered that.
Okay, all right. So I move to approve the recommendation of the Board of Assessors for a single tax classification residential factor of 1 with no open space discount, residential or small commercial exemptions. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
So thank you, everybody. And with that, we will move to the next item of business, which is 1.2, and it's a discussion and vote to adopt the Sustainability Committee charge. And I did not hear from Anna. Do you know if she...
She had, I talked to her earlier today. She does plan on attending, so
So why don't we...
a minute.
Why don't we go to item 1.3 and then we can go back?
So I think we might also hold on that because I don't see anyone.
I don't see anybody
on the
either.
personnel board. I do see Eversource here, so perhaps we could go to 1.4.
Okay, all right. So why don't we do that? So we are skipping and we will go back to item 1.2 and 1.3 of the agenda. But for now, we will go to item 1.4, which is a presentation by Eversource regarding electric underground cable modernization project. And we have two community relations specialists
here. Chris, if you want to move him in. And he can let us know if anyone else should come with him or not. And we can move Amy back just to clear the screen.
Good evening. This is Jared. I do have 2 other members from our team, Ian Kia, as well as Brandon Caliendo. If they could be also unmuted and allowed to speak as well, that would be appreciated.
They're on their way.
Great, thank you. And is it also possible for me to share my screen, or is that something you can do, Chris? I know we had sent over a presentation to Mona.
It should be possible for you to share your screen.
Great, thank you. All righty, I'm going to do that now while you're bringing them up as well.
So Jared, would you like to introduce your team quickly?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So my name is Jared Blandino. I am a community relations specialist for Eversource. My role with the company is to be a liaison, working closely with municipal officials. So I work closely with the town of Dover on many items, on day-to-day issues, but also for this particular project, I work as kind of that conduit to pass information about what we have upcoming regarding this particular project, as well as myself. I'm joined by Ian Kia. He works in our project services group, which is also part of our outreach team. They typically work closely with direct residents and abutters. They also present these projects to our town leadership in partnership with myself. And Brandon Caliendo is our project manager, so he's going to be the one overseeing pretty much everything from start of this project regarding any work that's happening as we see this through. I just briefly want to talk about the underground cable modernization program. This is an initiative that Eversource has done and is continuing to do throughout our territory where we have underground transmission lines. This particular project, which we introduced to the town back on September 4th, we had a meeting with Chief Vinci, Chief Wright, and Kevin McCabe from the DPW, just kind of explaining what we're doing, trying to gather feedback from town officials. And then we also had a follow-up site walk down so they could get their eyes on where this particular project is going to be happening. And as you can see, it says Dover to Needham. We're going to go through kind of a mapping as well as an overview of the project and a timeline. And we're here to answer any questions, get any feedback. And this is really our time to work with our municipal partners to see if there's things we can kind of change or do differently before anything gets kind of moving through our permitting process and other outreach that we do with local residents. So again, we appreciate the time. I am going to pass it over to Ian. He's going to kind of run through the PowerPoint with you guys.
Yes, hello everyone. Can everyone hear me? I'm having some issues with getting my video up.
We
We
can
can hear
we can
you.
hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Apologies about the video. Maybe I'm too used to Teams. But thank you all for having us tonight. We appreciate your time. We know that with select boards, there's a lot going on towards the end of the year. So again, thank you for fitting us in. Just a little bit about the underground cable modernization program. This is a proactive approach by Eversource to modernize our transmission lines by replacing older transmission lines and bringing them up to date and with new technology. A couple things before I dive into this. I think the first part of it is, what is a transmission line? A transmission line brings energy from the energy source to substations. The substations then break down the voltage, lower the voltage of that energy, and then that goes to the distribution, which are the poles that you'll see in your neighborhoods and businesses that then tie into the commercial and residential needs. So the transmission lines play a very critical part in ensuring the energy goes to the substation, so then the voltage can be broken down and lowered and then go to those needs for residents and businesses. So a couple things that we see as big benefits for the underground cable modernization program, as we like to call UCMP. And unfortunately, we love using acronyms. So we will have a couple acronyms here. I'll try and spell them out for you. The first big improvement for us that we see in this is replacing the existing pipes, which are HPFF, high pressure fluid filled, with cross-linked polyethylene. This takes out any fluid within the cable, and that's a big improvement for us because there is a river crossing here near the Charles River. So it eliminates the risk of a potential leak over time and ensures that any fluid does not seep into soil. So it's a great improvement with the XLPE technology. So the environmental part is the first benefit. The second benefit is more market availability. HPFF, high pressure fluid filled, the existing line, is more limited in market availability in terms of spare parts, particularly with the current manufacturer. And so the XLPE would allow us to have more available parts, particularly when doing restoration or maintenance on the line. And then the other part of it would be reducing failure risk in densely populated areas. As we all know, the Boston area, particularly towns like Dover, Needham, are growing. And we want to ensure that the technology is up to date to handle the future energy demand. The other part of this is improving speeds for restoration. The new lines would allow us to get to the pipes a little bit easier and are able to be controlled in a manner where we can get restoration up and going a little bit quicker. And I think the third final improvement for us is the capacity. The new XLPE lines would be able to hold the capability to distribute more energy than the current HPFF lines. This aligns with the Commonwealth's 2050 climate goals and ensures and assists with electrification goals overall. Next slide, Jared. If there's anything that we take from today on this project, this is the one slide that you can reference. It's the project necessity, the solution, the project area, and the timeline. I promise you, we do have a map of the route on the next page, so I will get to that very quickly here. But the one thing I want to mention is that these lines do date back to 1967. So we do want to take a proactive approach in bringing these lines into modernization and to, again, accommodate that future demand for the town of Dover. And just in terms of the work area, the proposed route runs between the Eversource substations in Westwood off Westfield Street, right on the Dover Westwood town line, and off Chestnut Street in Needham. Most of the work is going to be on Chestnut Street, which includes a river crossing on a Department of Mass DOT bridge. And we are already coordinating with Mass DOT, and that would feed into Westfield Street in Dover, and then hit the Westwood town line. I just wanted to emphasize that we will follow the same or similar route as the current lines whenever feasible, and that there are no plans to interrupt regular electric service to customers. In terms of the timeline for this project,
So how do you do that? Do you run the pipes parallel?
Yes. So when we are excavating the line, we are having the existing line still operating to ensure that there's reliable power to customers, and then building the line next to it. Brandon, is there anything you wanted to add on that, since Brandon is the project manager?
No, you hit on it. Yeah, we'll be installing the lines parallel with the existing ones, and then once we're fully installed, there'll be a procedure that we call cutting over, where we take down them one line at a time and then attach the new line to each end of the substation. Even during that period when we're doing those cutovers, because this is a double circuit project. So when we do those cutovers, it'll only be one circuit at a time. So even when that happens, there won't be any interruption to service.
And then are there special procedures that you put in place given the environmental risk of the HPFF lines?
In terms of, do you mean in terms of when we remove the old lines?
Right.
Yes. So actually, at the substation on the Dover Westfield line, there is a pump station. So after the cutover procedure is complete, we will be draining the fluid. Most likely, we'll set up a tank at the Needham station side, because the Dover station side isn't big enough. But we have a procedure to drain all of the fluid out of the pipes before we start removing anything or digging out any of the old pipes. So that'll be removed, and we'll even likely send a CCVT camera through the old pipes to double check the integrity, make sure we didn't miss anything, because we do not plan to dig up the roads to take out the old line. So we're only going to be excavating for the new line.
Okay, so you're going to leave the old line in place, but remove the fluid from the line.
We'll be removing the fluid and all of the cable itself, all of the copper cable inside, so it'll just be an empty conduit. And then with the camera, we're going to check the integrity. So if the integrity is not good, we're going to use what's called flowable fill concrete to just fill it in so there's no risk of that collapsing. And if the integrity is still good, then we may leave it open as a spare. So in the future, if we ever need to add a new circuit, we won't need to dig up the road again.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what's the diameter of these pipes?
So each circuit consists of 3 phases.
Okay.
And we're doing a double circuit. So it's 6 phases, and then you have some communication wire and all that. So that's all encased in one large 48-inch diameter pipe.
Okay. It's a lot bigger than what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah. Each phase is about 8 inches. But it's because of all of the different wires and multiple phases, it's just encased in a larger pipe. Yeah.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
explains
so-
why you need to fill it in. And Robin, you keep asking all the questions I want to ask right before.
All right. I'll keep my mouth shut. You can ask the next question. This is fascinating.
It is. It's like, but yeah, the environmental is going to be well taken care of and pulled out. And even if there was a leak, it would still be encased in that 48-inch pipe, right?
The new technology that won't have any gas or fluid in it at all. So the environmental risk is almost nil with this new technology.
No, I'm sorry. I'm removing the old.
With the old pipe, yes. Yeah. It's going to be heavily monitored. Yeah.
But even if there is a leak, it's still going to be contained within that 48-inch pipe.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, so going to the schedule part, the current schedule that we have for this is filing in Q4, more likely Q1 of 2025. This would be a filing with the Department of Public Utilities likely. The proposed start of construction, and again, these are subject to change and pending necessary approvals with the town and other state agencies. Start of construction would be about Q4 of 2026 with an in-service date of Q3 2029. I do want to emphasize on that timeline that there are likely moratoriums that we would need to comply with. So that's not a 3-year continuous. It's more of a depending on the season. And then I also did just want to point out that we work in sections, so it's not the entire road being done at one time. It's doing sections as we go and backfilling as we go as well. The sections are, we average about 50 feet a day. Is that approximate, Brandon?
We expect to do about 25 feet a day.
25, apologies. So about 25 feet a day. And then the next slide has the map on it of the route. And as you can see on the left, there is the Dover side of the route. It's a little bit shorter than the Needham. I would say it's about a third of the route. But as you can see, it's primarily one street, while also just that intersection there.
And do you envision when you do this making Chestnut Street and Westfield Street one lane while you're digging up?
So in the typical traffic management plans that we do, it's single lane alternating traffic, but it depends on the town. Depends on the emergency vehicle access. So we would be very hand in hand with Dover. We've already, as Jared mentioned, had some talks with police and fire about how they'd like to see things. So we would work with them before we have a finalized traffic management plan.
Right. I mean, that's a busy road with emergency vehicles because of the hospital. There are a lot of ambulances, you see.
Yes. And I did. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Ian. That was definitely something that we've discussed with both Chief Vinci and Chief Wright. So, and the same thing with Needham. We understand that this is, a fairly busy area, that we need to keep open and allowing traffic through. So, all communities involved will coordinate, as Ian mentioned, the traffic management plan with all of our police and fire. We even spoke with Westwood as well regarding this I think they do have a bus route that does a turnaround in this area. So
Right.
we're looking at every angle. We don't want to, be a headache to anyone when this is happening. So we do look at everything, and it's great to have feedback from town officials on it.
Yeah, and one great example of this is the school starting after a certain time sometimes helps with reducing the congestion, particularly for school buses and commuters. I know there's a number of commuters that use that road, such as a 9 a.m. time. So those are considerations that we want to bring into the table and go over the town with in detail.
I'll certainly appreciate all the planning. I think if you put a lot of thought into the planning, it's going to go as smoothly as possible.
And then the next slide, Jared.
Sorry, let me get this back here.
No worries. This right here is a enhanced timeline. So if you just wanted to see where the timeline's going, this is good to see that. I did just want to make a point on outreach. I'm going to talk a little bit more about outreach on the next slide, and that would be the next to final slide. Outreach really is not having information in open houses every month of construction. It's more of responding to hotline inquiries from residents. We have a 24/7 hotline, call and or email for residents so that we can handle those abutter issues and or abutter concerns. I respond to that personally. We try and strive for under 24-hour response. So just know that outreach length is really related to ensuring the hotline is open all the way until we are completely done with the project. And then the next slide does touch on outreach. Okay. So the way that we want to engage the community, particularly with these type of projects, is we want to get feedback of all kinds: good, bad, neutral, and or informational. This starts right here with talking with the select board and having these conversations with the town, and then going to community groups, and then going to direct abutters along the route. A couple ways that we inform people is we will do a couple of mailings informing residents on information sessions. We usually host these at the local library, and we will try and do it after work. We'll also have virtual sessions. So if people don't want to come to the library, they can come in virtually. And then the other part is we do mailing drops. My team and I will, after the mailing, sometimes do a letter drop just to ensure people were able to take a look. The other thing as well is we will advertise. We'll advertise in local media. We will get on newsletters in the local region, and we will work with community organizations such as the Charles River Watershed Association and the Charles River Regional Chamber to get the word out about these information sessions and open houses. The one thing that we found very successful is when we have members of the select board at our open house. We would just have one open house in this instance, just to show coordination amongst the town and Eversource, as well as the community groups there. And then the last slide that I have is our contact information, and we are open for any questions.
So I really appreciate this presentation. It was really nicely done. We would be happy to participate in an information session. Any information you have as the project progresses. We in town do have a digital newsletter that goes out monthly, and you can contact Chris Costello if you have things that you want to go out in the digital newsletter. It's just one way in which we communicate with the town, but it might be an avenue for you to get information out as well. But from my perspective, I have asked all the questions I want. I really do appreciate this outreach. It was very helpful understanding what you're trying to do and how you're going to handle the project. So thank you. Dave?
We need modern infrastructure, and this is just the implementation of it. So to me, I think everyone in the towns affected are going to appreciate the outcome, which is allowing us to still get power. So I have no further questions. It was all about the safety of removing the old one, and so you answered my question. So thank you.
Yes. So thank you all, and we'll keep an eye on the project and let us know what additional involvement you need from the town of Dover.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. One last thing I will say is we do have monthly meetings set up. I know it's on Michael's and Chris's calendars, as well as both fire and police chiefs and DPW. So what we try to do with those meetings, and we have canceled, I think we had one this morning that I canceled because I knew we were going to be on here, but and there's not many updates at this point from what we've done. So as things progress, we'll continue to have those meetings with the town and make sure they're informed. So thanks again. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I just wanted to jump in because I did see a question come in from someone. I think it was mostly related to construction noise. So I did want to point out one thing we did talk to the chiefs about, and that we need to be very cognizant of is construction moratoriums, especially if there's our bus routes. We don't want to get started too early in the morning. They were very concerned about us being out there at 7 o'clock making noise. So we are planning to adhere to whatever moratorium they'd like to set up. We're not starting this project until summer 2026. So when we break ground, so there's plenty of time to work out the needs of the town in terms of what noise restrictions or time restrictions you may need. But we're very cognizant of that, and we plan to adhere to whatever the chiefs and you all think is best. Because there will be a little noise, but we hope it keeps to a minimum, and we will not be out there at 7 a.m. jackhammering. That was definitely made clear in our meeting with the chiefs.
Brandon, I pulled up the specific question. It was in relation to some concerns about Sage Farm,
Yeah.
with some horses. So yeah, maybe just some outreach to them specifically might be helpful.
Oh, that they'll be getting a mailer. We'll go meet with them. I'm already planning on meeting with them in person.
Great.
Great. So if you can coordinate with them as you're about to start the construction to alleviate any concerns with spooking the horses, that would be great.
Yeah,
Yes.
any stakeholders that are right next to the project area, such as them, especially businesses, I plan on meeting with them in person rather than just sending them a mailer.
Yeah, and that will be multiple meetings if needed. But we definitely want to incorporate their feedback where we can tie that into the project whenever feasible.
Great.
And we have your contact information as well. So if people, want to reach out to you if they have any other questions, they can do that right now, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They can reach out. They can even reach out to the hotline if they want to. We should have a project website up and running soon. So
Okay.
it'd be a one-stop shop for everyone. Downloadable one-pager. So hopefully that would provide some information to people. But yeah, the hotline's always open.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
So we
Thank
look
you.
forward to this project progressing
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
All righty.
So we're going to take a step back in the agenda. This is very challenging for me. And we're going to go back to item 1.2, which is the Sustainability Committee charge. And I see that Anna has joined us. So if we could move Anna over as an attendee or a panelist, there we go. Anna, you're on mute. So
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
we can hear you.
Great.
So we appreciate you coming back to the meeting. The last time we had you here, you made a presentation on the Sustainability Committee, your charge, but you wanted to reach out to other boards and committees to get their feedback. So I understand that this evening you're coming to us with what I would call the final draft
Yeah.
of the Sustainability Committee charge, and you're looking for us to approve that. So do you want to just give a quick summary of any changes that you made based upon feedback, or maybe a quick overview of the charge, and then we can go from there?
Sure. So, almost all the charge is basically the same. The general goal being to be in an advisory subcommittee to help with sizing up projects and keeping a view toward sustainability and restoring natural resources, but also to promote transparency and do education and generally be useful and keep the eye on the ball. Let's see. The actual goals and initiatives all look the same, but from talking to folks, I think, especially you all, I think it's pretty clear that the momentum is behind water and improving our energy footprint, probably through community choice aggregation or something else. We need to figure out how to do that.
Right.
We passed it, but like, what does that mean now? And then there's some interest in like public facing projects. What changed is just I talked to the student representative of the tree preservation subcommittee for the planning board, and she was like, "Oh, I was able to vote. We should upgrade the students to being voting members." So we're now at 7 member. We were at 7. We're now at 9 with some allowances for student voting. That, according to town council, needs all of your approval. I'm not sure if it's each time, but it needs a waiver from you all saying like, yes, this 14-year-old is allowed to vote. So I'm hoping you're okay with that because I'd really love to get student voters. And then I think I removed some language requiring that town boards appoint someone within their current ranks. Just thinking they may have an expert who's interested or an outgoing member who they would like to represent them. Other than that, it's all about the same. So if there's any feedback, I'd love that. I've talked some with capital budget. Barry was saying he was interested in having 2 members because he'd heard that originally. I kind of want to go with 1 because we're pretty stacked, but
Right.
we may come back and want to add another person or shift this around. I'm assuming it won't be terribly hard for us to change if as makes sense.
Right. So I agree with the way you have set it up now. I think, the most important thing is getting input from the right people. And I also think, I like the idea of potentially having members of committees that are rolling off, but this is something they're passionate about,
Yeah.
representing that committee. That's a great idea. We talked a lot about, I think the first step is setting this committee up, coming up with, your short-term goals and objectives or plan, and then adjust as we need to. So I am really comfortable with this. I think if the students are putting the time in, they should be allowed to vote. And so long as town council is comfortable with that, I think they will be more engaged if what they think actually matters. So I like that idea, and I really appreciate the tree committee's student representative speaking up and letting us know that this was something that I believe it's a she was allowed
Angela.
to do. Right. So from my perspective, I'm excited to get moving. I really thank you for stepping up and being willing to be the chair and setting our first sustainability committee up for Dover. And I think it's going to work really well, and I look forward to getting periodic reports.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm starting to hear from folks who are interested. So if you know folks who are interested for
Excellent.
member at large positions, let me know.
Okay. We could also do a posting on the website, and another good place to do something is both on the Dover Facebook page, and then there's a Dover community page on Facebook run by members of the community, and you could also
Yeah.
say we're looking for members as well. You know, the planning board through that kind of outreach was able to get a number of candidates that they've been interviewing, and just people in general that are interested if the planning board doesn't work out of doing something else in town.
That's great.
Which is great. Dave?
I would, again, assuming Nina's okay with it, encourage the kids because arguably they have a greater stakehold in the future and sustainability than we do. So I like giving them a voice. I love this whole thing. I read through it yet again today. The one thing I asked you to consider is, would it make sense to add in your goals working with a Commonwealth and the state's sustainability goals? Just as
That's fine with, yeah, that seems good. Mike mentioned this. I completely took that as a given, and if I've learned nothing else, don't take things as a given. So yes, we should do that.
It's also a nod to the state and
Yeah.
just saying that they've got their goals and we hear you and we are working with you. So that would be my only comment. You can add however you'd like to put it in there, and I think the rest of it is absolutely wonderful.
Right.
I think that's a great idea, Dave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to approve the Sustainability Committee charge as amended to include the Commonwealth of Massachusetts' goals as one of our goals as well.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate
Yes.
that. And good luck recruiting members. I don't think it's going to be difficult.
I don't think
You're
so
gonna have the
either.
opposite problem.
I think so. I need to come up with something to say. Oh, we're full, but we'd love to have you join us. Come to a meeting.
Right.
My hope is to set a first meeting probably beginning of December. If we have about half, I'll go with that.
Sounds great. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
So we're moving forward again. So we're on item 1.3 now, and it's the personnel board is going to be making a presentation to us. They do this annually in the usually it's in October, so I guess we're a little bit late this time, but they're going to make a recommendation for the market adjustment for non-union personnel and a vote from us. So what I would like to do is admit them as panelists so that they can make their presentation. And I would also like to note that our HR director, Robin Tassino, is also joining us.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Robin.
So Chris, you can move over to Juris and Sue as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you too.
First of all, thank you for having us on the Board of Selectmen agenda this evening. We appreciate that and look forward to talking with you about our recommendation. So I am going to share. I think I did it. Can everyone see this?
No.
All right.
Try
hold on.
again.
Okay, let me try again. Share. Oh, I think. Nothing?
Nothing.
No.
Huh. Okay.
All right,
so
Chris, you need a magic wand.
yeah, I can email this to you. I just pushed share. Let's see.
So you have to hit share and then you need to select the screen. So you might be selecting the wrong screen.
So let me try to share my screen.
Okay.
This was what we had talked about earlier. Let me see. You know, you may see, I hope you see the right thing. Let's see. It's asking me, nope, I'm sorry about this. This is not my
That's
expertise.
okay.
It's okay. I think
It looks
Robin
like
just got
Robin.
it up.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so I have to get out of this now, right? It's funny, I did push share. Okay. Okay,
So is this the right one, Sue?
yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, I can't see the title of it, so let's see. I'm hoping it is. It would be, it says 11-624B. Is that what you have, Robin?
I have the most recent that you sent to me, but I can't see the title.
Okay. There was just a minor tweak here and there anyway.
Okay.
So again, thank you for having us on your agenda this evening. Most of you know me. I'm Sue Jeremiah, and I'm here with Eurus and Robin, thankfully. And Eurus and Robin are both going to elaborate if I miss something or correct me if I don't say something correctly, and will be available to ask questions as well as we go through. Okay, Robin. Sorry that you're going to have to do the slides for me. As most of you know, the Personnel Board is composed of 5 members, 3 of whom are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, one by the Warrant Committee and one by the Town Moderator. The role and intent of the Personnel Board are established by the town's bylaws. It exists to establish, maintain, and deliver a system of personnel administration that promotes a fair and consistent application of personnel policies and compensation practices. The board also serves the Warrant Committee and the Selectmen by providing analysis and fact-based recommendations regarding compensation, benefits, and personnel-related topics. And the reason that we are here tonight, the board each year, as Robin mentioned, recommends to the Warrant Committee and the Selectmen an annual market adjustment to increase compensation schedules, which reflects cost of living adjustment for the coming fiscal year and includes a review of both state and federal indices and a study of comparable towns where available. So let's get started. Town of Dover compensation system and personnel board recommendations for FY 2026. Sorry if that's a little bright behind me. As we know, the goals of the compensation plan, but it's worth reminding ourselves, are to attract and retain a qualified and engaged workforce for the town. It's also to ensure a compensation system comparable to other towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and other states, and to deliver a consistent and data-driven approach to determining the market position of Dover's jobs.
Which has been a challenge because, right, we're such a small town and sometimes we don't really find the right matches.
So the simple answer to that is yes, you are correct. I think we, as Robin and Eurus and our board has discussed during many a meeting, we live in an area that doesn't have easy access to transportation, not in the same way that you would in an urban area. And we also work hard to make sure that the jobs are, that we can pay people what they need to be paid to not only commute to Dover, but live somewhere in a commutable range. So I think we've seen in the last year that what people are looking for in terms of compensation is changing. And, you know, we are trying to make sure we stay somewhat abreast of that.
Right.
Did I get that all correct, Robin, from your perspective as well?
Yes.
So again, as we've talked about in the past, there are 2 components to our general compensation plan. One is a step increase and one is a general increase. The step increase is very common. Nearly 100% of Mass towns have a step increase structure. And as mentioned here, over 75% use it for all employees, including collective bargaining agreements. And to your point, Robin, this allows the town to hire at market, reward tenure, and cap salaries at market maximums, which is our goal. The general increase is a market recommendation. Oops, not quite yet. By the Personnel Board in conjunction with the Warrant Committee and the Board of Selectmen as part of the budget voted at the town meeting. And for the past 15 years, we've used Department of Labor data, we've used CPI data, Social Security data, and we've also used the bargaining market adjustment data locally to come to a recommendation. We also take into consideration the fact that we have to be cognizant of what the town budget can handle for not only us, but for all the other demands that it faces. Just as a data point, the cost of 1% for the general increase for fiscal year 2026 is $50,748. Find that gives you sort of a perspective on, what a percentage looks like. So having said that, this is just a look at the significant portion of employees that in fact do benefit by the general increase that we're talking about tonight. So non-union management, professional and admin there are 67 of those approximately in the townhouse. And then the other population impacted by the general increase are the non-union fire department. So, a substantial number of people benefit from the general increase. So this is the slide with the smallest print on it. This chart gives you an idea and illustrates the estimated cost based on the level of increase. So 1%, 2%, 2.5%, and 3%. 1%, as mentioned, is $50,748. 2% is double that, 100,000 approximately. 2.5 brings you to 126, and 3% brings you to 152,000 and change. And given that we're looking at both sides of the coin here, I think it just again puts it into perspective what these percentages look like. And as mentioned earlier, we also factor into, and we've talked about this quite a bit over the past couple of years, the bargaining market adjustment for comparable communities and locally within our own town. So this ranges from about 2.2% to about 3.75%, the highest being in Sharon, which I would say is a bigger community than ours, but still there are relevant data points about what is happening on the bargaining side. And at the time of this assessment, which makes sense because we're all at the same places in similar towns, we did not have access to any non-bargaining market adjustment information. Makes sense. So, we're using what we can to stay in line with, what's happening around us. So our recommendation for fiscal year 2026 is a 3% increase. And this is based on the data presented in our discussion and in consideration of the current and anticipated estimates outlined below. And the approximate cost of the increase would be $152,000 approximately and change. So you can see that, we're wrestling a little bit, but the Social Security CY25 estimated increase is now at 2.5, and that actually went down a little bit from a couple months ago where it was at 2.64. And the employment cost index wages and salaries for state, local, and government workers, and that should be an average of all categories, actually also was at 5.1 in June and has come down to 4.6. And that's usually, helps us look forward as to where the cost increases are going. And as a result, and particularly taking into consideration the bargaining market adjustments, we are recommending, again, 3% this year.
So Sue, what percentage of the, I think it looked on the slide before, I think it was about 100 people that are, no, maybe even the slide before that. So
Oh, next one. Next one.
when it showed the number of people in town that are impacted, so it's about 110, I think. So
Mhm.
what percentage of these professionals also get a step increase? Is it just the 67? And then what percentage of the 67 haven't maxed out yet?
So it would just be the 67, and I don't know how many would be in that category per se, and in part because we do want to do this in isolation.
Okay.
Just, because we're looking at this as, cost of living adjustments. So we can certainly get that information.
Right. And I mean, the way I like to look at it is total compensation from the budget, the entire budget perspective.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I think, certainly for my sniff test, the 3% seems reasonable. We are finding that every position is challenging to fill. The job market in the Commonwealth is still tight. So I think, we want to make sure that we're competitive. But we also haven't pulled together the entire budget. And so, right now I'm extremely comfortable with this 3% increase, but I'm saying that without having seen what this entire budget looks like.
Mm-hmm. I
Dave,
think,
and I want, I think it's important for us to make sure that we can attract good talent and retain that talent. And I think skimping on 0.5 percentage point, it's just not worth it. Because based upon the data you presented, it's somewhere between 2.5 and 3%.
and I think we have a survey coming up. I believe we're going to start it in the new year, because I think we're coming up on the schedule. And I do believe, and I know that we've had many conversations, that we are bumping up for some positions when we're trying to attract and retain, we're bumping up on the ceiling of what we can pay them. So we're going to, it's about time that we go back and do the survey. We're right on schedule to do that. And I think we're going to get a very clear look. And I think it has to do somewhat with inflation and this post-COVID sort of, I wouldn't say it's a reaction, but the world we're in. So I think, I feel that the 3% is a fair percentage for us to be requesting. I always want to request more, because with my HR hat on, I can't help myself. So, when I look at some of these numbers, I feel like that is a very fair thing for us to be asking. We're not shooting, for the moon on this, because we know that we're also going to be doing a salary survey very soon.
And that's really helpful. I was going to ask when the next salary survey is. So, from my perspective, I think I'm comfortable with this. Dave?
If you could go scroll back down to where the other increases were, that slide. That one, one back.
Two back, maybe?
Right now, right there, right?
Oh, sorry.
So
the small print slide?
no, the one after that one.
The next one. I knew.
That's it.
Right.
So So you can see what the other towns are doing, and then overlaid with what the state is doing, Boston CPI. I think this is being responsible to the town, but also responsible to the people who work for the town.
I
And
agree
that's
with
the
you.
balance you're trying to strike. And I totally agree with Robin that because you're going to be doing a salary survey, any inequities are going to get fixed in the nearer term, or at least identified in the nearer term, so we can move forward with that. So I'm comfortable with a 3%, Robin. I think that's the right
Okay.
number based on everything that's been shown to us.
I do too. So I'm going to move to approve the fiscal year 2026 increase in compensation of 3% for the town's non-union staff as recommended by the Personnel Board.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
Thank you, Sue, and the rest of the board. And Robin, this was a great presentation. And continue, we need to continue to do what we're doing because it is important not only to hire good talent, but to retain that talent. Because the most expensive things for organizations is the cost of replacing good talent.
And I do have to say that we've spent many, many hours in looking at exactly what you're talking about. Where do we have to be and how do we get there to attract and retrain and attract and retain? And I have to say a huge kudos to Robin, who's really providing so much HR data from the town, which is really helping us as a personnel board, and your expertise and your wealth of just sanity around a lot of this. How about that?
Thank you.
Keep your head up. So anyway, we really appreciate her, and we appreciate all of you. So thank you for being patient, and thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
all.
And I was going to give a shout out to Robin as well. Again, I think just adding this position has been so beneficial to us in so many different ways.
Life-changing.
Right,
Life-changing.
right.
Well, I'm not going to be able to fit through the door tomorrow.
Well, that's Mike's problem.
And Mike is great too. I just have to say.
Exactly.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
No worries. Have a great night.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Bye now.
All right, so now we've already taken care of item 1.4. So we are going to move to item 1.5. And it's a good thing I had a sip of water because I guess I am the presenter here. So for item 1.5, it's more of an administrative agenda item. Some of it is due to the reorganization that took place at our last meeting. So right now, given that there are two of us on the Board of Selectmen, before I move to make some of these appointments, perhaps we should have a discussion about some of the committee liaisons. So I think, what we're going to do is appoint the assistant treasurer collector and assistant collector payroll coordinator. We had two individuals acting in this capacity, and we are very pleased with the contributions that they're making. So we want to make final appointments for them. Then also, Dave, we are now going to include you in the fund that exists surrounding signing expense and payroll warrants. So we are going to make you an approver, and I think that will make the accounting department very happy because they have to keep pinging me, or they have to make sure that I'm looking at my email, and because I know I hold things up every once in a while. So it will be good to have two people again.
Yeah.
And then we have three liaisons that we need to divvy up. So one of them is open space and the community center, and then also our representative to the MBTA advisory board. So I think let's discuss the two easy ones, which is open space and community center. So John was serving as our liaison for both of these committees. The community center building committee is really important right now. I think we're at a critical point in that project, and it is somewhat of a heavy lift. And I was wondering if perhaps you might be willing to take that on.
I was going to offer to fall on the sword and take it on. I'm kind of involved in it now.
Right.
And I think we owe the building committee some semblance of stability, if that's the right word.
Continuity.
So that whichever works. So I would be happy to take on the community center project and work that through. I do have a question. What is the time commitment on the MBTA advisory board?
Minimal.
Oh, I'll take that one. No.
All right. Okay, so then if you take those two, then I will take open space. For full disclosure, during the budget review season, it may be difficult for me to attend every meeting, but I will reach out to the chair and make sure that I am, up to speed with everything that is going on there, because it is an important committee. So I will take that on.
Okay. And then, just for the record, as your schedule and my schedule ebbs and flows, we will back each other up as best we can. But there's going to be times when, was it last week? There were 3 meetings that I was supposed to attend, all within an hour and a half period. So, sometimes you're just not going to be able to make them all, but for the important things, we'll be there and we'll back each other up.
So I really appreciate that, and then also appreciate patience of committees, because sometimes we may not be able to attend the meeting and it's just going to be a call and we're going to be asking the chair to update us. But it's still important that we know what's going on.
Yes.
So with that, I guess I need to read the appointments and then make a motion to approve them, right? So I would like to appoint Jennifer Pink as the Assistant Treasurer Collector, appoint Janet McGovern as Assistant Collector and Payroll Coordinator. Can I appoint myself? Appoint Robin Hunter as the designated signer of expense and payroll warrants. Appoint David Havlin as the alternate signer of expense and payroll warrants. See, you're back up here. Appoint Robin Hunter as the selectman of the open space as a appoint Robin Hunter as the liaison to the open space committee. Appoint David Havlin as the selectman liaison to the community center building committee, and then appoint Dave Havland as the selectman representative of the MBTA advisory board. And so I move to approve all appointments as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
All right. So now we are, boy, this is a packed agenda. So now we are on item 1.6 of the agenda, and it is a discussion between the Board of Selectmen and Aquarian Water. It involves Aquarian Water utilizing the distribution pipe in the center of town. This is a discussion that we've had before, and it's approving a memorandum of understanding, which has already been approved by town council. So I see we have our two Aquarian representatives,
Chris, you
Adam
could move in John Walsh.
Simonson, and I don't see John Walsh. But thank you and apologies. I think we're a little behind schedule here.
Yeah, no worries. Good evening.
Good evening. So do you guys have a presentation or you're just going to make us provide a summary?
No, we don't have a presentation. And I don't know, Mike, was the Board of Selectmen provided with the MOU?
Yeah, so just
You got a
Adam,
copy of the MOU, right?
yeah, and as Robin mentioned, but just to add a little context, so this MOU we've been working on for some time. As Robin mentioned, Town Council has reviewed and approved it. But the essence is, as Robin said, is what it does is it provides a way that the town can agree to open an interconnection from our system to the Aquarian Springdale Farms water system. I'll let Adam and John explain the why of that. But then it also gives some indication that the town, while it doesn't hold us to this, our intention to pursue the disposition of our water pipes in our downtown area. As some community members know, some are a little confused. We actually don't provide town water. We don't have a town well. We do have some town-owned pipes, but we simply, in one end, take in Aquarian water, and the other end, deliver it to customers. So we're essentially a delivery service, and we have an interest in getting out of that business. And so this MOA discusses that the selectmen would be willing to consider pursuing that. So Adam, I'll let you give a little more detail.
Yeah. No, yeah, thanks, Mike. And John, just chime in here on, just as related to operations, what makes sense. But really the essence of what's happening here, and I think Mike did a good job of explaining it, is with Springdale Farms, we would like to be able to serve Springdale Farms from the main wells in town. There are wells over in Springdale Farms. We are installing treatment at those wells, but that treatment is designed to be seasonal treatment to meet peak demands. And it's a much more cost-effective solution to simply utilize the interconnect in the town pipe, the town-owned pipe that's there. So that's sort of part one of the MOU, is granting us the ability to use that interconnection. And then secondly is just laying out the intention that the town's going to put a bid together to comply with the Massachusetts laws around disposal of assets, and that we would intend to bid on that and to essentially purchase that town-owned pipe from there, and essentially unify it all into one water system, which vastly simplifies operations for everybody.
Right, and also helps us somewhat get out of the water distribution business, which is not something we are experts at. So I do recall the conversation that we had, I think a few months ago. There is a question. Oh, never mind. It doesn't relate to this. I was gonna, and Mike, I know, I'm sure Aquarian has been working closely with our water superintendent, Carl Warnick, and he's reviewed this and has no issues with it as well.
Yep, with the only caveat, and I sent the board a revised motion today. Carl, myself met with Adam and John by phone this morning, and we do have a revised motion to approve the MOU contingent on some testing that we think is important, just to ensure that any of our customers don't experience any sort of lack of water pressure or flow, due to the interconnection being open. So if you are ready to vote, or when you are ready, I would ask that you just reference that motion that will provide that protection.
Okay. And I did see that. So I do not have any additional questions. Do you, Dave?
No, we talked about this extensively
Right.
at our last meeting with Aquarian. So this is just the MOU saying, all right, let's move ahead and get this done.
Right. And I look forward to getting it done. So I'm going to move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the town of Dover and Aquarium Water Company, contingent on Aquarium conducting pressure and flow tests to ensure that water users in the town of Dover system do not experience a lack of water pressure or flow due to the interconnection. These tests should be coordinated with the town of Dover water operator Carl Warnick, with the results sent to the town administrator.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I'm not sure if I gave Carl a demotion or promotion, because I did call him the water superintendent.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I went with water operator. His title might actually be different, but we.
Okay, so one of us gave him a.
Congratulations, Carl.
And Robin and Dave, just while Adam is here, Aquarium would like to come back at a later time to provide kind of a broader update. But we have got some questions about some of the discussion we had last time about the interconnection with Devon Westwood and MWRA. So, Adam, do you want to just give a really brief update on and kind of like set an expectation for timelines, and then again we can bring you back for something more formal later.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mike. I think so. Things are moving forward. There's a rather involved process when it comes to really everything on the MWRA front. So we've what we've done formally though is we've hired a consultant. We've hired CDM Smith, who has done work for the town as well, and also has done a lot of work for Aquarian and other areas. They're very familiar with the process. So we're working with them, and I think it's probably going to be appropriate either at a late December meeting or early January meeting to kind of come back and give a more formal update where we can kind of give a presentation.
And then again, just one of the things we get, and just for the public's benefit, again, should this move forward, the process to become an MWRA community does involve approval of town meeting. So just residents can be sure they will have the opportunity to ask questions and have a voice as we pursue this process.
Correct.
And again, you and Nina will make sure that there are no obligations of joining MWRA for the rest of the town as part of that review process.
Yes, yeah, we have confirmed that, but we will have that documented. Yep.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Good night.
Thanks, Sean.
So the next item, finally, it's not me, it's you, Mike, is item 1.7, and it's a discussion and vote regarding the Department of Conservation and Recreation, which is DCR, permit for the use of Snow Hills Fire Tower for radio communication.
Yeah. So, Robin, as you may recall, and I think this could have been before Dave was on the board, but the town, the selectmen have already approved some funding through ARPA for a police radio communications project, and you'll actually see we'll be touching on again in a minute. We thought it was important to do this first because without a permit, there's nothing to fund. So we're doing the permit first. But basically, this is an effort to improve both the technology and the reliability, replace outdated technology of our police. Specifically, this is related to the police communications. In town, we have a number of dead zones that don't get appropriate radio service, especially when officers are not in their vehicle. So, if they're responding to an incident or scene and they're unable to use the radios are on their person, they have to go back to their car to get a stronger signal. So it's just not ideal. So this will, and I apologize, I had some really great notes that I seem to have misplaced from the police chief. Because I told him, you don't have to come, I'll just take some notes and talk. But off memory, because I don't have it in front of me, this project certainly will include the DCR fire tower, but it's also going to include upgrades at the BC retreat location, as well as Dover Sherborne schools as well. We have different technology there that connect throughout the town. So this is one piece of it, but the ARPA money that you'll be voting next is for the larger project to upgrade all of that. To give Dave credit, he asked a question earlier today. This is totally independent and separate from any potential regionalization projects that we may be involved in ultimately. This is work that has to be done independently from the town, whether we are in a regional dispatch or not. So we have no ability to kind of wait on this and then see if it could be paid through the regionalization project. This is independent from that.
Well, last time I checked, it's a good thing that when a police officer clicks on their mic that they actually get to speak with somebody. So
the other thing I'll just mention, again, was on my notes, was a separate but related to this, the chief applied for, and you had previously approved a grant for municipal fiber, which connected all 3 of the radio sites back to public safety as well. So that's another step that fortunately, we're not paying for that, but we did receive that upgrade as well. That will also enhance this project.
Well, that's going to be extremely beneficial.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So Dave, that was an excellent question about regionalization. I didn't think of that.
that's why there's at least 2 of us.
Right. Okay, so if there's no more discussion, I'm going to move to approve the Department of Conservation and Recreation high ground permit for the use of Snow Hill Fire Tower for radio communication.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Okay, so now we can go, and you don't have to skip Article 1.8 or item 1.8 on the agenda. And again, this is a discussion and vote regarding ARPA funds. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Yeah, so in your packet, there was some information. I think the last page was a Excel spreadsheet that our interim finance director is keeping, just so you can kind of see what we're referencing. So, for the board and the public's benefit, we received two portions of ARPA money. Some were received by the county and allocated to us. And you'll see, this is the second half of the page, the bottom half. You'll see the various projects you have already approved, the money that was allocated, and we have a balance of 98 cents in the county money. And that's a good thing because with all this money, we have to have it fully allocated by the end of this calendar year, and then it has to be expended by the end of next calendar year, 2025. If we don't do that, the money goes back. So admittedly, we'll be sending 98 cents back of the county money. We got pretty close. But tonight, what we're referencing is the top portion. And there's 2 pieces. The first is a rescission of some money that you already allocated previously, specifically to a Kleinfelder, which was part of original water work that we did. We did move with a different provider, but that money is still, a portion of that money is still sitting there and we cannot use it. So we're asking you to rescind that. And then the second 2 votes are related to first to the radio communications project. You'll see a quote in there. The dollar amount we're asking you to vote tonight is $70,397.42. That is less than the quote, but that's because there's some money left from money you previously approved of $201,000. And so, and also a just over $32,000 vote as well from the county money. So we're looking to take the balance of what's left, subtract it from the 133, and we're left with that $70,000+. And then what we're asking you at this time is to just make sure that we do allocate the rest of that money. As the board knows, we've been working really hard to clean up some of our financial end of the house issues, and that involves consultants. We continue, although we're hopeful and trying to move forward with the process to interview and hire a finance director / treasurer collector. That is not complete at this time, so we will continue using consulting services. So we're asking you just to designate the rest of the balance at this time to our consulting services. Again, that'll bring us into compliance for the end of the calendar year. But I will note, we did verify, we do have flexibility. Once it's allocated, if I'm going to make up March of next year, we decide we'll have some money left there. We still have the ability to move that to a different project. So we're not locked in, but at least this way we've met our compliance by the end of the fiscal year. And we do think that, depending on how quickly we can hire or bring someone on board, that the number we're proposing certainly is a reasonable number for what our consulting services will run through the end of next calendar year.
And it's an allowable use of ARPA funds, the consulting services?
It is. So the money that the town receives directly is called revenue replacement. And you can essentially use that for anything you'd use your typical revenue for. Some of the county money had some related restrictions related to infrastructure and things like that. But this is free use money.
Okay. So with respect to the Kleinfelder money, I was always so I'm assuming, these are funds that were appropriated at an earlier date. So I always thought that it had to go back into the general fund, but that's not
a great question. So in this case, because this is separate ARPA money, no, it's still in the ARPA pot. It hasn't gone anywhere. We're just simply, you had allocated a specific amount of money for a specific use. Since we're not using that consultant, we're just rescinding that allocation so that we can reallocate it to something else.
Okay, all right. So that's the piece I missed. So that makes a lot of sense. All right. Dave, do you have any questions?
I don't. I asked Mike earlier, so I'm good.
Okay. Cheater. All right. So now let me try this. So can I do all three can I read all three motions?
I would, I know it's a little longer, but because we have to record these votes with the federal government reporting, if you could do them as separate, that would be very helpful. Okay.
All right. I'm glad I asked them. So first, I move to rescind $23,875 in unexpended funds in the direct to Dover ARPA revenue loss funds originally allocated for the Kleinfelder Water Consulting Project.
Second, and that is a mouthful.
It is. All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Excellent. All right. Second one. I move to approve the use of $70,397.42 from the direct to Dover ARPA revenue loss funds for the police radio communication project.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
And finally, I move to approve the use of $94,897.58 from the direct to Dover ARPA revenue loss funds for treasurer, collector, and financial consulting services.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Okay. Moving right along, this is an annual event. Dave, I'm not sure if you were around last year when we did this, but in November of each year, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts requires that Dover's package store and club liquor licenses be renewed. So we have two such licenses. One is for the Dover Wine Company, which is really Swami Singh Corporation doing business as the Dover Wine Company and the American Legion. And they have met the monetary insurance and inspection requirements, and the documentation will be submitted to the ABC, which is the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, so ABCC. So it's just an annual thing to renew these two liquor licenses in town. Do you have any questions?
I would not want to be the person that said no.
Yep, agreed. So then I'm going to move to approve the renewal of the annual retail packaged goods store license for Dover Wine Company for 2025.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
And then I move to approve the renewal of the club license for the George B. Preston American Legion Post 209 for 2025.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Okay. And now, Mike, I'm going to return it over to you to provide an update on the board's fiscal year 25 goals and priorities. Have you had any time to work on these?
Well, I appreciate that segue. So first of all, I was just going to mention you got us back on track. We're actually 4 minutes early now, so that's good. But that's one of the reasons, and I appreciate Dave actually specifically asked that this be a separate agenda item at each meeting, because to Robin's point, that's exactly what happens, right? As we know, things happen we don't expect. Time gets sucked up on other areas, and then sometimes these goals, while very important, don't always get the focus that they need. So by including this on the agenda each meeting gives us a chance to kind of focus and say, hey, is there something that we could kind of tick off right now or really focus on? So I'll let Dave jump in a second on what he is suggesting is something we can start to implement right away. But, just quickly going through them for the public's benefit, the first goal in terms of public communication outreach, we had a really successful Dover Days, which we've discussed before, got really good feedback of your availability, and Chris and I's availability being there. Chris is underway now, and you may have seen on social media with some website redesign. In fact, we're doing some focus groups, both internally with staff and externally as well with members of the public and board and committee members. So that's been going really well. Our communication plan is underway, so that continues to happen. We're starting to lay the groundwork for online permitting. The grant opportunity for that does not open until the beginning of next calendar year, but we're trying to work now to put some of the groundwork of our internal operations and how things work so that when the funding's available, we're ready to move pretty quickly.
And I mean, that's the hard part of this, delineating what your process is today.
Right, exactly.
And then making improvements to that process so that you don't automate things that make no sense to automate.
Right. Yep, exactly. Chris, and I want to thank Chris, he's been working really hard on the electric aggregation RFP, which is the first step in the process of pursuing a municipal aggregation program. So we anticipate that that could be ready as soon as your next meeting at the end of November, so that we could start to bring that forward and see that come to fruition. And I think the timing's pretty good that we just created the sustainability committee, so they'll be very helpful in that process. Yep. As we've updated before, the rail trail project is kicked off. We're continuing to meet on that. The housing study task force. We can check one off. The sustainability committee has been created tonight, so that's one done. We'll move on from that. And then we're continuing to monitor the implementation of a true DPW. As you know, Park and Rec staff and cemetery staff through some intermunicipal agreements came under DPW's jurisdiction, and that's been going very well. So, overall, we have a lot of work going on. There's a lot of pieces moving forward, but I appreciate, again, having this be a highlight. And one that Dave would like to tick off involves some office hours. So, Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about that and what you think?
Yes, I just, given the outstanding reaction we got from Dover Days, and some other folks have asked just to offer selectmen's hours and do them at different times, but maybe 1 hour once a month, publish them in Chris's newsletter, and then ask Mona to do the signups just the same way that Nina does her signups. So if someone wanted a 15-minute block, they can sign up for it. And why don't we just take it on a demand basis? I mean, if no one continually signs up, then I guess we really don't need selectmen's hours. But if folks want to reach us and have, I just the 5 minutes at the beginning of a meeting when someone wants to bring something up that's not on the agenda, it's really difficult to start engage and work with that citizen. So I'd love to just try it and. I don't know what your thoughts are, Robin, but we could kind of rotate through it. I don't think we need to set 3 hours aside, every 2 weeks. That's way too much. But offering maybe once a month for 1 hour and then adjust as demand dictates.
I think it's a great idea because you're right. It's hard for citizens to bring up issues in the citizen comment portion of our meeting. And it's a way that they have access to us and we can know what their concerns are. So I would be more than happy to rotate it. I think monthly is the right amount of time, is the right frequency. So let's start with that. And, my only issue is, do we want to offer it in person only? Do we also maybe want to have 1 month? I guess in person only makes the most sense. I was thinking maybe you could do it via video, but in hindsight, I was thinking out loud and that doesn't make sense. But we can just change the hours. Maybe 1 month we do it morning, 1 month we do it afternoon, 1 month we do it evening, so that there's an
That's what I
opportunity
was
for
thinking.
anybody.
So
Right.
people can come see us when it fits their schedule as well.
Okay. So I will tell you, Mondays and Fridays, I tend to be in town. So it's easy for me to do in-person meetings. And the afternoons work best, but Friday I could do late morning. And then any evening, as long as we don't have a meeting and there's no
I was gonna
warrant
say,
meeting and there's no
any
capital
evening's a
budget.
little strong because you've got a few others. But yeah, so it literally comes down to just working with Mona, I think, and
Okay.
odds or evens. Do you want to take the first one or you want me to?
When is so the first one would be December?
Whenever we want to make it. I mean,
All
this
right.
Yeah,
Will you
I
take
would
the first
suggest
one
that.
and let's set up the schedule?
Okay, I would suggest December in that gives us a chance to get it in the next newsletter.
Perfect.
Some chance to advertise, and then as you set a date each month, we can continue to add that to the newsletter, push it on social media, etc.
Right. No, I think it's a great idea. And if nobody so the question is, if nobody signs up, do we take walk-ins?
Well, that's something that I guess
Can
it
we
has
just go and sit in the selectmen's room for an hour?
right.
But if Mona does it the way she does it for Nina, if no one signs up, she'll let us know that, and then we don't even have to go.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Because you know what's going to happen. Someone's going to sign up for the first 15-minute slot, and then someone's going to sign up for the last 15-minute slot. There'll be no one in between. But that's Murphy's Law.
Because if I'm the selectman, I'm probably going to talk too much and it will take the 15 minutes, will be 25. So it'll be fine.
Well, yes. So yes, Mike, I think just coming up with a schedule that works and just go either or not every other is what I meant to say. And we'll just see how it works. But I too, I mean, the one time that I'm not available is Monday mornings. But after that, it just depends on the circumstance. But usually I'm around. So.
Okay.
That's perfect.
And I can do later in the morning on Monday, but let's set it up and we can get it done. I would like to make maybe a suggestion for tweaking, just given everything that's going on, for tweaking one of the goals and objectives so that we can check a box. So we did talk a lot about the Citizens Academy, and I think, we've in our communications with Warrant, we are going to set up a sort of a finance 101 training or academy. So why don't we tweak this goal to have that being the starting point and then leverage off of that?
That makes sense because I think that financial education is going to be invaluable to
Right.
many people. And especially if we open it up to committee chairs, and let them get educated on the whole budget building process.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I mean, this is supposed to be a live document, and
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
And
Thank
then
you.
Chris, your work on electric aggregation, when it comes, and if it's as good as we're all hoping, you're going to be a very popular individual because everyone's just going to save money. I was like,
Once.
do you need any help on that, Chris? Are you in good shape with that?
No, we're actually in a really good position. So as Mike mentioned, I think it's the final form is coming together, and then we're going to be ready to at least start the process with this initial RFP. But then we'll keep it going after that.
Super, great.
excellent. All right. So are we done here, Mike? Or
Yeah, I think so.
okay. All right. So now we're on item 1.1 and it's Board of Selectmen updates. So before I start with some of my updates, I wanted to take the opportunity here to give out some thanks. So first of all, I wanted to extend my gratitude to John Jeffries for his years of dedication to the town. He has been a selectman for the past 8 years. He has been a valued colleague and partner in our efforts to modernize and try and improve our community. And I think his commitment and contributions have really made a lasting impact to the town. And I just wanted to say I do appreciate all he has done for the town. I don't know if you would like to add anything, Dave?
Yes, I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to finish up. I too would like to thank John for the countless hours that he's given the town as selectman. And thank you again, John, for your volunteerism, your time and efforts across, well, the 8 years and however many projects. So please know that we are grateful for all of your efforts, and we do wish you the best in your future endeavors.
I forgot about that, but that is right. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to our town clerk, Felicia Hoffman, and thank her for all the work she did with respect to this election. The early voting is a great convenience for all of us, but it does add many more hours of work for her. There's a lot of planning that goes into this. And I think the fact that things go seamlessly, we forget how much planning goes into it. So I would just like to thank her for everything she does. And somehow, Mike, if you could force her to take some time off and get some rest, I would greatly appreciate that.
She certainly deserved it. I was going to add that also under my town administrator updates, and I just wanted to add, I'm in the building, during all the early voting and certainly on election day, and I mean this place has been hopping, and Felicia is running up and down, left and right. I popped in a couple times during election day, and I also want to extend to the poll workers that Felicia brings in. Everyone was smiling, happy to be helpful, answering questions, and it just was really just a great vibe. But you're right, she deserves a day off, and I'll see what I can do. It's tough for her to do that, but I'll see what I can do.
Okay,
Right, and I mean, we had
let's start
80
with a week off and then work backwards.
Right.
So,
we got 82% of the voters actually vote. That's a lot of votes that have to be calculated and ballots that have to be counted, and
especially when there's write-ins. I mean,
Right.
people don't realize the chaos that Mickey Mouse can cause, because every time there's a write-in, that ballot, then that write-in has to get counted for that office.
Right.
And they just handle all that with what appears to be seamless effort, all knowing that it is a lot of effort. And yes, I think we all are very grateful to everyone mentioned, and shout out again for Felicia.
Right. And Felicia, hear it now. You need to take some time off. Dave is suggesting an entire week. I'm not sure you can handle that, but if you could, that would be great.
If you say a day, you might get 10 minutes. If you say a week,
Right,
you
right.
might get a day. So.
Right. So just a quick update, as Mike had mentioned, the housing task force, we meet monthly. We're continuing to move forward with our initiatives. We did go out with an RFP and only got one response that was really not on point for what we were looking for. So we did contact the consulting firm that provided the RFP to let them know that we were going to go back out to bid and what we were looking for. We also have been doing some outreach to broaden the committee. What's really important with the next phase of what we're trying to do is to get townspeople with expertise in development. And we are making progress there. So we are very, very pleased about that. I also have been working closely, as has Dave, he's shadowing me, with Warrant Committee and Capital Budget Committee. Everybody is on board with our new process, making sure that they deliver to the town all of their budget requests by December. And so just so everybody understands, we just need to understand where we're going to end up with everything. And we appreciate that there will be placeholders in there. I also had a very productive call with the business manager of the schools yesterday, and she also committed to giving us their budget, not only their operating budgets for the school, but also their capital budgets. And she believes that they will be pretty close to being final when she gives them to us, because they will have already been reviewed by the respective school committees. So, I think it makes a lot of sense that for Warrant to begin to look at the budget in its entirety as they begin to vet the budgets. I also talked to them a lot about the importance of the role of the liaison in Warrant, and that the liaison really needs to be an active participant in the committee that they are the liaison for. The schools mentioned to me that in the past few years, Warrant hasn't been engaged as much as they used to. So I did relay that to the chair, And what I did learn was the two liaisons have already reached out to the schools, which is great because that dialogue is extremely important. So I think, I'm relatively optimistic. I think we're making progress and we'll be able, to begin to work on, if need be, where we have to prioritize so that we can come in at a reasonable increase for taxpayers. So I think the other thing is the warrant is changing a little bit the way they're going to review budgets, and they're going to have or vote on budgets. They're going to have like I think 2 or 3 marathon sessions towards the end of February, the beginning of March. So again, we're trying new things. We'll see what works, what doesn't work, and tweak accordingly. But there's definitely a lot of great conversations going on, and everybody has the same goal, just trying to be more efficient.
My turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Well, the planning board had a meeting this week, and it was a extremely full agenda with just about anything that they could cover, they did, which was nice, including the first interview for an associate member. So it is great to see the volunteerism is still there and folks are willing to put in that time. The financial working group has kind of been put on hold just due to the realities of the next one, which is the financial director search committee. Mike, are you going to talk about that at all, or?
But no, if you want to hit it now, that's fine.
Well, we did have some interviews with some good candidates, and we're waiting to speak with a fourth, I guess. And hopefully we will have some candidates that we can bring forth. Also, the 3 to 5 committee, the current chair went on a work pilgrimage where they had to just travel. It's her busy season, so Kate was kind of going crazy, so not much has happened there, but that committee might need some work in getting reconstituted and getting a new chair and some members because Kate has taken on additional responsibilities as an assistant town moderator. So I've got to, once Kate gets back, I can nail that down and then get that going. I did field a call from James Stewart. It was great to catch up with him, and he just wanted to know where it was to make sure that it wasn't in a black hole. And so we do have to get that one going. And then the community center building project, Mike, they had to explain to me that way back when there was an approval that you could do the small ones. I'm like, well, great. Tell me what this process is. So. But I'm unable to make this Fridays because I'm going to be away. I actually have to get up at 3:45 tomorrow and get on the road. But I will be doing my best to make those PCO meetings with Dick and his committee. It is very helpful to listen to their expertise, discuss things. You learn in a very short period of time a whole lot of info. And it's all very beneficial. So those are kind of my updates.
Great. So Mike, I think we can go to 1.12, which are your updates.
Perfect. So just a couple of things we haven't already talked about. One is I think Dave failed to mention that he participated in a talk with the town a couple of weeks ago with the COA.
Oh, that's right.
The reason I mentioned it, I was also going to mention that Chris actually participated last week doing our communications overview, and it was very well received, and really appreciate Dave and Chris taking the time to do that. I also just wanted to share, and Chris is going to pull together probably a broader report for the board, but just to highlight, he was able to pull some data on our social media use, and just to show, again, the importance of having staff and the right staff to do this work. Since Chris has been doing this, we've had a 199% increase in posts,
Wow.
41.5% in post reach, a 46.6% in our page reach, a 41.6% increase in fans and followers, almost 71% in post impressions. So just really have had a major uptick, and just shows the value of having someone who knows what they're doing and takes the time to focus on communication. And it's really exciting, especially as this is only going to get better once we have our communication plan finalized and start implementing some of the recommendations from that. So appreciate Chris's work on that.
Those are outstanding numbers.
Yeah, no, very, very impressive. And the feedback we receive consistently is just great. Whether we like social media or not, it is where people get their information. So
I completely agree. And one of the things we learned from Dover days, talking to the PTO, was they also struggle reaching members. And one of the things that they learned was that their members like to receive things via text message. So just another avenue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And last thing I just wanted to mention, I know the board was made aware of this last month, but I don't think we've had some interruption in our meeting schedule, and I don't think we've announced it publicly, just that Officer Don Cahill received the AAA Traffic Safety Hero Award last month. And that was related to his work related to motor vehicle enforcement, making the roads in Dover safer for everyone. So just wanted to publicly congratulate Officer Cahill for his hard work and dedication to traffic safety and enforcement in Dover.
That's great.
Yes.
And that's all I had.
All right. And wow, we got back on track. And for those of you waiting for a consent agenda, there is none. We did it last week. So with that, I'm going to move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry it was so late, but I think we were able to cover a lot of really good stuff. So really appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks, Mona.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.